Hello and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm José.
And today we have seen Booksmart.
Yes.
Which is a coming-of-age, high school comedy, bit of drama. It's all about girls, and it's girls in high school. It's directed by Olivia Wilde,
yes,
who people know as an actress. This is her feature debut.
Yes.
She's directed at least one short before.
It's a most unusual film, and I think it's worth highlighting because it's the only buddy comedy that I can think of that is not only between two women, but it's also between a lesbian woman and her straight girlfriend, and they're best buds, and they've been best buds through high school, and I can't remember that combination ever before.
Well, nor can I suppose, although he did quite spring it on me. But no, I mean, it does seem,
what
does
do you
seem
mean
novel.
Spring it on you?
Well, I mean,
it's kind of what the film...
Yeah, I know, but I didn't think of it as novel in that way. But I suppose you're right. It probably is.
Yes, well, that's why I interjected. It's worth highlighting. I mean, you know, it's very funny in all kinds of ways that aren't common in a buddy film, and actually a lot of it has to do with, like, you know, women's sexuality and kind of, you know, the way they interact, and, you know, in many ways they're making vulva jokes the way that, like, you know, in other comedies men make dick jokes and so on. But it's unusual to see, and it's unusual to hear, and it's very, very funny.
Yeah, I think it's a real counterpart, and kind of it's quite a sort of progressive, sort of woke counterpart to Superbad.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you've not seen Superbad?
No.
It was out in, I think it was 2004.
You sprung that on me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the reason I bring up the comparison is because Superbad is, the story tracks in very, very similar ways. It's about these two young guys who, I can't remember if it's about they want to lose their virginity, but they want to go to a big party at the end of school, and then stuff goes wrong. They end up going to 3 parties, as they do in this film, and there's all sorts of sexual... It's incredibly immature, that film, you know. And I probably couldn't defend it, but I do find it really funny still.
I think this is really unusual because it is also all about female desire and very many different kinds of female desire. You know, desire for women, or, you know, the typical high school thing of having crushes on boys, but all seen from, like, the women's point of view, and actually also, you know, the fucking up or the screwing up, the you know, the sexual moment, but again, this time with a girl rather than the guy, you know, and the insecurities that engenders. So I think it's kind of really novel and unusual and very, very funny. I mean, I laughed out loud throughout.
Yeah, so did I. I thought it was great. I think we seemed like the only people laughing. I mean, it was a sort of midday screening, so not many people in cinema, but we were going for it with laughter. And other people, I think we were putting them off.
Well, they can fuck themselves. I mean, you know,
really funny.
I had no expectations for this film. I don't think I've even heard of it, really. And it caught me by surprise in a delightful way. I mean, it's full of great jokes. It's very, very funny. It's also, you know, so some of the criticisms that we always make, this American comedy, it's really all about the improvisation, and, you know, kind of some of the humor revolves around jokes, and they're often just verbal ones and so on. And actually, to a large extent, this film is also like that, though it has kind of some brilliant oral and visual moments, right? But it is mostly a comedy of situation and kind of, you know, performance. But it's situations and performance that are unusual. So, for example, it's got these 2 gay characters, and really, you know, they are there to be funny, right? But the attitude to them is, you know, kind of, it's they are funny with it. So kind of, you know, the campness comes from a camp place. It's not kind of, you know, objectified or kind of dismissed or kind of put to the side or made to seem somehow inferior, right? Kind of, they're brilliant moments of comedy in the film, you know, which I think kind of works terrifically well.
Yeah, the film is brilliantly cast. Everyone fits, and they all have such fantastic chemistry with each other. And the opening of the film is like last day of school, and everyone's getting ready to graduate, and there's a huge party going on, basically. The place is a mess. There's confetti everywhere. And there's so much energy in it. Like, the camera just kind of moves around from person to person, kind of giving everyone a little moment, and people kind of jump up and take their place and start talking to the class, and then someone else says pipe down, someone else does this. It's enormous amounts of energy right at the start. Huge, it's like full of life.
Yes.
And so exciting. And it kind of feels like every sort of every little observation that the writers have had about life at school and all the people that they hang out with and that sort of thing. They've all made their way in there, and they've all given their little moments, and everyone's kind of privileged. And then jokes are kind of made of people and things, but nothing's cruel. And by the end of the film, everyone has sort of been shown a kind of certain amount of empathy and respect.
Yes.
Like, the film's got huge amounts of empathy for its characters.
Yeah, so it doesn't put anyone down. Yeah. You know, it doesn't make fun of anyone. Yeah, it makes people seem funny. Yeah, it gives particularly actors an opportunity to get laughs, but not at the expense of anyone else, which again is very unusual.
Yeah, and nor at the expense of the kind of people that they're portraying.
Yes.
As you say, like the gay characters would be very easy to make fun of them for being gay, which is not what the film does at all. It makes fun with them.
Yes.
You know, for the way they behave or the
Their
way
swishiness is made adorable and funny.
Exactly.
You know. And actually that's true. So normally in a teen film of this kind, because the film revolves around these two girls who've been good all their lives and they're book smart and they're the top students in the class, you know, and they realize the day before they graduate that actually some of their colleagues who they've been feeling very superior to have not only been accepted in universities as good as the ones they've been accepted to, but actually have had fun all through high school. So they resolve to, at least on the last night, you know, party, right? So you can imagine that this would be a film in which, you know, you could have made fun of the jock or the person who wasn't very bright or, you know, the prom queen or king or whatever. But actually, the film has empathy for all of them and kind of, you know, and brings them all together, really.
Yeah. I think what's really remarkable about it is that it shows the different cliques and the different people at school at odds with each other, and the kind of the little wars and fights and oppositions that they have.
Yes.
You know, like the girls who, like for instance, you have the thing right at the start where the main character is sitting in the loo in the bathroom stall, and there's three other characters outside taking the piss out of her without knowing that she's there, and that's quite cruel.
Yes.
Right. By the end of the film, the kind of the main one, the sort of the central girl who is implicated in that, has had her moment of as you say, kind of there's like a realization, you know, I didn't know you very well, and we didn't know each other very well, and this sort of thing, and it's like you understand absolutely everybody.
Yes.
You know, whether, you know, no matter how kind of archetypal they are, which everyone sort of is to a degree, right? These people do fit
these
into
are all types.
These are all types.
The rich guy, the jock, you know, and so on. Yeah.
And the way in which empathy and humility is expressed is kind of predictable. I think, you know, I think it's kind of predictable that the central character. Let me just remind. Molly is her name.
Yes.
She's the one who's really, really bookish, and super proud that she got into Yale, and then is devastated to find that other people have got into Yale and Harvard and things.
Yes.
The moment where she,
you know who Molly is? Who was played by?
Who played Beanie Feldstein.
You know who she is?
I recognise her.
She's Jonah Hill's sister.
Ah, okay.
Which, as soon as you say it, you can recognise.
Well, I mean, I thought of her as a kind of Jonah Hill sort of type in a way.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But the moment in the car where AAA, as the other character's called, picks her up and gives her a lift, and they have that moment of kind of expressing a certain amount of empathy for each other, and then that final speech where she sort of says, "I felt superior to all of you."
Yes.
And essentially, I didn't know you, and I'm kind of... She doesn't exactly apologise, but there's a kind of coming clean about I'm not as brilliant as I thought I was, and we all need to learn stuff. Like, it feels predictable. You feel that the film is going there. On the other hand, it doesn't make it any less
the iteration of the performances, of the dialogue, and so on is just brilliant. I mean, this is a film made by people who know comedy and know how to get a laugh. Lisa Kudrow has just, I think, 2 or 3 brief moments. She plays the mother of Amy of AAA.
No, AAA is the horrible girl. Amy is the friend.
Okay, yeah. So she plays the mother of Amy, and she just has about 3 or 4 lines, you know. And one of them, I just broke out laughing. It's like, you know, just the way that she said it was so funny, you know, that she got a huge laugh out of it. It was a very ordinary line. I mean, I don't know what it was about, kind of take your lunch or so. It was something absolutely banal, right? But she was just brilliant, and her timing was brilliant, and also
it was the button on the scene about not needing all the details, something like that, too much information, something along those lines. Yeah.
So and actually the film is full of moments like that. Right, so I think, is it Jason Sudeikis?
Jason Sudeikis is the teacher, the principal.
The principal and also the cab driver. I mean, again, very simple stuff, right? But, just kind of the reading of the lines and some of his reactions. Like, he's really kind of warm and, kind of attractive. He's a kind of an actor that lets you in. And, kind of, he's just funny,
Yeah.
Jessica
Williams as well. As the other
teacher,
she's the black lady who's the other teacher who gives them dresses and stuff and ends up going to the party.
Yes,
she's great, and she overuses the word empathy, but like the way which she relates to the girls and helps them out and kind of knows who they are and relates her own story to them feels really again open.
Yes, but it's an empathy that's not saintly. That's not about adhering to a rigid set of morals and being kind of a stereotypical definition of a good person. I mean, it's a kind of empathy that is aware of the frailties of human nature, right? So again, that teacher who is so empathetic nonetheless ends up having sex with one of her students at a party, right? So she this film is not about like perfect people or paragons of virtue or anything like that.
Well, I mean, her whole thing is, thank you so much for going to a party at last. I've wanted you to break the rules ever since you got to high school.
Exactly. So, and there were a few, I just want to single out, and you'll have to help me because, but the very camp black actor was just brilliant. What was his name?
Austin Crute.
Austin Crute. I want to single him out because, he was just living that role. And again, kind of doing it in a way where every gesture got a laugh, right? I mean, every time he appeared on screen, I just kind of, it just made me happy to see him, right? Yeah. And really, he's very secondary, right? He's almost like a bit part player. He's only, he's in the background through much of the film, but he's only got a few lines and he only comes to the fore kind of just a few times. But actually, every time he does, a gesture lands a laugh, right? He's just wonderful. And I think this is kind of very typical of what this film is very successful at getting kind of, this wide array of actors often doing kind of little bits, to kind of come in and do something rather wonderful performance-wise. And it's very interesting because the two leading actresses they're both very good, and I think Beanie Feldstein is very charismatic. Yeah, I don't think Caitlin Dever is. Yeah, who's the lesbian girl. She's very good. But she's not kind of one of those people that you can't stop looking at. And so actually having this wide array of supporting characters, many of them who are kind of stars in their own right, like Lisa Kudrow or Sudeikis and so on, kind of adds a kind of a depth to the film, I think, actually.
Yeah. And what you're saying about everyone having their little moments, I think that's what the early part of the film in particular is really built around. There are loads and loads of little individual lines that get good laughs, or little kind of facial gestures that people make towards other people, and or noises, that sort of thing. Like the opening is absolutely full of that. Then as the kind of story starts to progress, and that stuff sort of slightly calms down, it becomes more situational, story based. But I mean, right at the start, God, if the opening of the film doesn't suck you right in, then nothing will. Yes. I think you just immediately get into this world and you understand it and you live in it straight away. I think it's fantastic.
I think it's fantastic, and actually, so we're here highlighting the performances and the situation and some of the verbal jokes, but the film also has a wonderful animated sequence. In the middle of it.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, where the two girls get stoned. And, kind of...
They imagine themselves as Barbie-type dolls.
Tottering on high heels. And, so actually that whole bit, which again is mostly verbal, because actually what's funny is really what the girls are saying.
It's their commentary on what they're experiencing.
Barbies, right? Yeah. And on what society expects of Barbie women to be. But nonetheless, right, kind of having it animated like that, is a real plus. And actually there's some very good sound jokes as well, of kind of, things in relation to the shifting of sound. So, So it's
or just the right sound effect. I'm thinking of the bit where Gigi, the character who just keeps on showing up everywhere, and is very dramatic about herself.
And it's fantastic. Billie Lourd is fantastic doing that character.
She's brilliant. She announces that she's going to kill herself, I think, and she just flops into the pool. And the sound of her hitting the water, it's a very particular sound, and it's just perfect for the moment.
It's very good.
There's lots of little bits kind of breaking a sort of breaking a mood in a comic way, like right at the end where the two main characters are saying goodbye to each other because she's dropping her off at the airport to go to Botswana and do her charity sort of thing. They play Unchained Melody. It's a cover of Unchained Melody, and I was thinking, oh god, you're ruining this. Like, Unchained Melody is not the right choice. It's just, I don't think it's a very good song personally, but it's also not a very good cover, and it is so kind of saccharine and stuff. I'm thinking, oh, is this really what you're doing? And then it's punctuated with a comic moment, and that's perfect. Like, it's that saved the ending of the film for me.
The Everly,
but that's obviously the point of it.
I think it's the Everly Brothers version of that. It's just so beautiful.
It's no Robson and Jerome.
It certainly isn't. It's so much better. But anyway, that's worth commenting on. It has a fantastic soundtrack. I mean, it has a soundtrack that makes you think, oh, I'm going to go home and look up that song. Yeah.
So that's not what I thought. The thing that I was thinking about the soundtrack during the film, it's full of music that I would never pay any attention to. It's very electronic dance music. It's nicely produced and everything. And these are, I don't know any of the music, so they're probably big hits. I don't know, but the thing that I think is notable is that this film shows how great rubbish music can be. That music I think is not interesting in the right scene and in the right film.
Okay, so I
think the film makes the music really great to listen to because it all fits.
Okay, so
but I would never listen to it myself.
We start from different places, but we end up in the same place. Because actually, I thought the music was very good, and it was very well deployed. You're thinking, oh, it's rubbish, but actually, the way that it was used in the film made it great.
Totally.
Yeah. So, anyway, we should probably wrap it up here. I mean, I think it's a wonderfully smart comedy. It's a feminist comedy. It's a comedy kind of done by women, and with a woman's point of view. It's most unusual, I think, in having that lesbian heterosexual girl best buds comedy, as a combination. And actually, I think it's full of such great jokes that anybody who goes see it will have a great time. Yeah,
and hugely kind of self-knowing in all the right ways as well, and like without apologising for itself. In fact, there's a bit in the film where Molly says, women apologise too much, but I need to apologise to you because we've got so much to apologise. Which is like this thing about it's really knowing about kind of expectations on women or expectations that they have for each other and things like this, and how a lot of things kind of come from not knowing someone. How like there's a whole thing about digging under the surface of people, which this isn't necessarily specifically about women, but it's about kind of, we're talking about these characters as fitting into types, and then by the end of the film, it's saying the problem is that you only see these people as types, and actually everyone has hidden depths.
Yes.
Think about the really rich kid with the car, who everyone takes the piss out of, and he's like,
he's a sweetheart.
Right, exactly. Which again, I think these are not the most original observations to make or original messages to put out, but I think they're fantastic and wonderful and really heartfelt, and I loved every minute of it.
Yes, I think it's it's a feminist comedy, that men will adore as well. The film is completely sweet about all of the men, and it's kind of an interesting perspective on them as well. So go see it. Yeah.
Reminded me of Skate Kitchen as well.
Oh, really? Everything's reminding you of Skate Kitchen since you saw it.
That's not true.
Well, you mentioned it about 3 or 4 times.
I can't remember what the other thing was, but something else did. Oh, the other thing was a skateboarding movie set in the 90s, so I think that's fair enough. Directed by Jonah Hill, as it goes.
Yes.
Mid-90s. But anyway, yeah. I really, really loved it. And I mean, there's going to be so many really interesting intellectual things to say about it, but I just think I just sank into it.
Yes. Well, I think the important thing to underline is the laughs. It's very, very, very funny. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for listening. We are Eavesdropping at the Movies, and we are on
iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube, and on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Eavesdrop Movies, and the website is eavesdroppingatthemovies.com.
Good.
Bye bye.